Is Ubisoft circling the drain? Let's find out. So recent reports came out that from the Ubisoft financials, it seems that the company is down over 31% across the business. Now this scales in different ways and there's different departments that have had different revenue deductions or reductions over the last while. For example, the general revenue overall is 990 million euros, and that sounds like a lot of money, but apparently that's down 31% on year, which is a bit, I guess, concerning. If that's down 31%, what the hell was it? Well, we could do the math. It was a lot of money. But on top of that, their net bookings were down also 34%, and that only took 944 million euros. Jesus, that still seems like a lot of money. I'm just, that's just me. Digital net bookings were 784 million, again down by 33%, and the back catalog net bookings were 762 million, down 27%. Now that seems like a lot of money, and even I'm kind of looking at this going like, you know what, you're not per Ubisoft, calm down. But that's still a drop in 31% of revenue where they were last year. And this is kind of interesting because we're seeing a lot of backlash with Ubisoft, especially how their titles are considered or the actual things they're facing from the fan base in regards to game design, game choice, game writing, a lot of things that are not necessarily been overly positive in the gaming spaces online from consumers the last 7 or 8 months. In lieu of this here, we're seeing actually like a weird sort of metric where there's actually a more retention in Ubisoft's properties, suggesting that gamers, even though they're not buying into Ubisoft with their core wallet, they're still playing the games that they've already gained access to. This has been seen through Ubisoft seeing a 4% retention or increase on their actual player base on console and a 7% increase on the PC. What does this come down to? Well, this comes down to the fact that the Cruise Motorfest game has apparently had a increase in 30% on its player base, which is a staggering increase. And then obviously the Steadfast Rainbow Six Siege being one of Ubisoft's core games in their pipeline. It's one of their biggest esports games they have going at the minute, even though we've seen X Defiant basically honeymooned into non-existence. The Rainbow Six stuff seems to be going strong for them and is resulting in higher retention rates on both console and PC. Does this look like a weird decline though when we look at things like such as revenue versus, the actual player base? Well, yes and no. And the reason why I say yes and no is because while they're not spending big money right now on their games, it's not to say that the Ubisoft don't have actually some positive news coming out of the Assassin's Creed franchise coming up with Assassin's Creed Shadows. For folks who are into Assassin's Creed Shadows or not, I know there's a big debate around the concept of DEI and Yosuke's character, whether or not it's fictionally accurate or inaccurate. It is fictionally accurate. He did exist. But that has been a big talking point and a sort of derivative piece that has been alleged against Ubisoft for the last while, but that seems to not really have affected the actual pre-orders. According to the report that we're seeing from Ubisoft, that the actual pre-orders for Assassin's Creed Shadows is matching that of Odyssey's, which is interesting because Assassin's Creed Odyssey was their second highest performing game in the franchise, meaning that there's potentially a big revenue wave and a resurgence in Ubisoft's actual core business and revenue coming back with that franchise. That could speak to the idea that maybe the hardcore element of gaming doesn't necessarily have that big of an impact on the general sales, because maybe Assassin's Creed games are just maybe at some point too big to fail, but we're starting to see how that's going to pay out in the next few months. We'll go from there, but so far it's looking really positive. Sadly though, the factor of the matter is that some of the ways they're going to obviously try and keep themselves afloat is the fact that they're doing what a lot of companies are doing at the minute, which is downscaling their actual developers. We've seen across places such as Dusseldorf, Stockholm, and the UK Leamington studio reduced their headcounts by hundreds, and this is not a thing that Ubisoft is alone in doing in going into the fourth quarter. This is stuff we've seen from Iron Galaxy, as well as probably Monsters and a bunch of other different developers across the board as we enter quarter four. So sadly, we're seeing potentially revenue drivers at the cost of developers' jobs and livelihoods, which is never cool to see, and it's something that I have hated talking about over the last few weeks, but it has been consistently a thing across the board when it comes to the actual business of video games. Now that brings the question, do you think Ubisoft is actually going to be circling the drain, or do you think this is just a bit of a road bump they've had in the last wee while when it comes to the uninspired performance of Star Wars Outlaws and the less than favorable opinions coming out about Assassin's Creed Shadows? Or do you think this is just run-of-the-mill, they're recalibrating, going in the different direction they need to go in, and they're going to be absolutely fine? Let us know in the comments section down below. I always read them, try to respond to as many as I can, and always try to give my 2 cents as well, based on what you guys are throwing out there and what additional information you're providing. If you have liked the video though, I'm going to encourage you to hit that like button, as well as that there, if you've enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, that way you don't miss out on these videos as they go out. Top of that, we actually even stream on this channel, and if you want to watch the stream, you can always hit the subscribe button. But if you prefer the purple platform, you can always check the link in the description down below, twitch.tv/itspvg. We go live simultaneously on both sides. That way, depending on what platform you like to watch streams on, you can always check us out. Come in, have a wee chat, maybe talk about the news, or maybe just, chill and just enjoy the games with us. But anyway, folks, we're going to love yous, we're going to leave yous. If we're lucky, we'll see yous on the next video or stream. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.